say that Victoria is also unshakable Christian.
I am a believer.
Yes. Now, do you know how I knew this?
How?
I in your book, continually it is God had a plan for you.
Of course, absolutely.
God had a plan for you.
Absolutely.
Now, if you're out there, ladies, and there's anyone who thinks you're a Christian, this here is the testament of Victoria, who strongly believes in God, and even though she went through hell, what is described on this earth as hell, she was unshakenly and unflinchingly, her faith was with her all along the way.
I didn't lose hope.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, Victoria, how do you recognize that you're in this kind of situation? We're told in the Bible to be submissive to our husbands, and if you're married and your husband is making demands on you, or you're in a relationship, it could even be same-sex.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one partner is slightly mentally stronger than the other, and therefore is determining, or it has earning power, or in these situations one is always in strength than the other, and that person then makes demands on you, or suggestions, or situations which are uncomfortable, and yet you have to do them because you have to be submissive, respectful, all of this. How then do you, where do you draw the line from? I am being bullied, or I'm being submissive and I should shut up and carry on. Where is this?
I think the questions you've asked. You touched on so many different points. I think when it comes to domestic violence and somebody actually recognizing that they're in a situation that's not good, is if you feel fear. If you start to fear the person that you're with, then that is a clear sign that you are in an abusive relationship. There's subtle types of behaviors as well, like controlling behaviors that are done in a subtle way, such as saying that they your partner may say they don't like what you're wearing, the blouse or the dress, or they don't like your hair like that, or making certain suggestions about your body weight. You shouldn't eat that because it's gonna make you put on weight. So there's various things. I mean, the list goes on. It could be things like talking about the type of friends that you associate with, not wanting you to see your friends, to go up to to visit your family. So many different things.
So if he says, "Oh, I'm not comfortable with Auntie Grace, and therefore she can't come to this house," is that controlling, or is that making your husband comfortable because he doesn't like Auntie Grace?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? I mean, if your partner is saying that they don't want your auntie to come to the house, or a friend, you have to question why. Why wouldn't they want your friend or your auntie to come to the house? Now, if your auntie or your friend is a troublemaker, that's different. But if it's a friend that you've had for a long time, that you're very close to, somebody that supports you, and all of a sudden, certain suggestions are made, then I think as a woman, you have to look into that.
Right.
And that just could be the starting point in terms of the type of behavior that will possibly continue if you then give in and say, okay, well, I want, my aunt, I will tell her not to come. Then it would be other things like, I don't want you going out today, or where are you going, or checking your phone, checking your emails. There's a number of things, and this is where the controlling aspect starts, in terms of trying to get into your psyche to get what they want from you. If that makes sense.
It does. It does. Trying to get into your psyche, so he will, as a controlling man, let's say, from what you're saying, is somebody who learns and watches you and sees your weak points and starts to You know, so what about jealousy? Because some people think that if your man loves you, and then so he's jealous about a situation, or he doesn't, you know, he loves me so much, he doesn't want me to, you know, he's jealous.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. But, you know, I think there is, I did read somewhere that it's healthy to have a little bit of jealousy in the relationship. But, you know, I think there's extremes to where a person will become jealous, such as, you know, not wanting you to talk to another male or another female. So when we're talking about DV, we're talking about it on both ends as well. We're not just talking about men being the perpetrators.
Yeah.
You know, because in the same way men can abuse, the same way a female can be controlling and abusive in the same manner. So it depends on the nature of, or the extent to where the jealousy becomes a problem. Not wanting you to talk to another male. Not, you know, you could, you know, I remember a particular situation, and I think it's in my book, where I talk about the partner that I was with, who I experienced domestic violence with. He had a friend, and we were all together one day just having a chat and listening to music and everything, and I thought everything was fine. You know, I've seen this person a number of times. He was a friend of the partner that I was with, and when his friend left, all of a sudden I got told that, why was you watching him? You fancy him, don't you? So, and for me, I was, you know, he's a friend of yours. I had no intentions in my mind. So, you know, when we begin to think about jealousy, you know, we've got to think about these individuals that have that extreme jealousy. There's some insecurities that are happening within them that makes them believe that maybe they're not good enough for you, or you're going to go off with somebody else, and so forth. And so they try different ways to make sure that they've got you where they want you to be, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. Ladies, what we're trying to say and what we're learning this evening is, if your man is continually jealous, and if you go out and you're uncomfortable because he feels that somebody else is going to look at you, somebody else has said something to you, somebody smiled at you, this and that and the other, and he doesn't fight the person, but he fights you. And it's always your fault. At the end, you may not want to go out with him. You're with a man who is making you doubt yourself. Yeah. And even when you don't even know what he's talking about half the time. Yes, it happens to a lot of ladies, and these are with men who are very insecure and who will continually, these are ways to make you cower and hide and not want to be seen and not want to go out. At the same time, you see, the contrast could be that when you're uncomfortable with him out, when you're on your own, you could have a blast.
But that's what tends to happen.
Yeah, without him, you know, he's not there, and yet you could have a blast without even thinking about the men out there, or vice versa, whatever the situation may be, you know. So this is, you know, and how does it escalate? Because now they're saying that every day in the Western world, in America, for example, 3 people are killed by their partners. In Europe, in UK, do you know the statistics?
Yeah, it's 2 every week.
2 every week.
So two women are killed every week that are in a domestic violence relationship. 1 in 4 women are more likely to experience domestic violence in their lifetime, and it's 1 in 6 for men.
1 in 6?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So, and when we think about DV, we always think about the women, but it's interesting to know that men also experience it as well.
And is it in same sex, or are the women attacking the men?
It could be either. It could be same sex, but from the research that I've looked at, the majority are same sex couples. Yeah.
So really, it's always the balance of power. If one person has more power than the other, and is, you know, using that power to weaken the other one and break them down.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
It's very sad, very sad. And so this is the reason why I do the work that I do, because not only do I work with women, professional women who want to heal their heart after domestic violence, but I also work with young people. So I do work in schools, and I developed the LiveWise program, where I teach young people about having healthy and safe relationships, and we look at things like boundaries. You know, what is a controlling relationship? What is a healthy relationship? What is an unhealthy relationship? And so it's it's interesting for young people to really get an understanding of what, you know, adulthood is going to be like. And even now, I mean, we're talking about 12 and 13-year-olds, and some of them are in relationships. It's, you know, some of them are in relationships now, and a lot of them don't know what a healthy relationship is. You know, I remember just a few weeks ago, I was coming out of a college, and there was actually a girl. There was a guy that said hi to the girl. I think the girl ignored him, and as she passed him, she whacked him over his head, and I was stunned, and I thought to myself, if that was a boy doing that to a girl, it would be a serious issue. Okay, but it was the girl that did it to the boy. And so this is the thing with abuse. It's the same thing. Why would it be different if a boy does it? Yeah. And so, and the thing is, you know, young people tend to think it's normal, it's joke, we're having fun, we're ramping and things like that. But this is where that behaviour starts. Okay, the behaviour of hitting somebody, even in joke and just, you know, can become a problem, because if you're used to ramping that way as a young person, as you go into adulthood and you know, as a young adolescent,
people
and think it's okay, or you would have somebody do that to you and you would think it's okay
to do it to somebody else.
That's right.
To smack your child.
Yeah.
And so you smack them when they're naughty. They grow up, they start smacking people. Gosh.
Yeah.
This is quite. I mean, this is a learning curve. This is a learning curve. Now, the other issue, you see, because I have an hour, we have to kind of tumble through everything. So I keep looking at the time. And one of the things also is society and the whole social thing involved. For example, my concern with domestic violence is maybe you have family, you have somebody to talk to, mother, grandmother, whoever, sister, cousin, da-da-da. So they will be watching, they've seen him in action. For example, it's a woman. I always talk for a woman. This is a woman's show, by the way, so I'm always talking for women and totally ignoring the men. Also, I'm sorry, I do love men. And if you don't, though, you have no one, or you feel embarrassed or stigmatized. You feel, you know, I mean, that for different reasons, people try not to talk about their marriages into the outside world. Now, society views married people in a special way.
Yes.
We go to weddings and
Yes.
we say, how do you deal with this? Everyone's art over yours, and everyone thinks this is beautiful, and yet you do not think it's beautiful, and you're suffering silently. Because we're talking about breaking that silence, how do you then deal with it?
And see, this is, and that's why the domestic violence is such a big problem, because when we think about DV in itself, I always say that domestic violence creates a silent community, because there's so many women out there, and like yourself, I tend to speak to women because that's my work. I do a lot of work with women and young girls, but I'm very mindful that men do experience this as well.
Of course.
But domestic violence creates a silent community, and what tends to happen is that because of shame, especially if you're married, you know, there's this element of exposing what's happening in your marriage. And so there's an element of shame, there's an element of guilt, you know, feeling like you haven't done enough or you haven't done the right thing, hence the reason why your marriage is crumbling in the way that it is, or you're not doing what you should be doing for your husband. And what tends to happen is the majority of women that may be going through this feel that they can't share, they can't speak out about it, they can't even tell a friend, a relative, and so they end up suffering in silence. They just endure it. And I think certain cultures also, how can I put this? Certain cultures kind of enforces that, especially in the African culture. You know, you'll find like, you know, your husband might be abusive, maybe shouting, slapping you, but then, you know, you may say something to your mum and your mum will say, just endure, you know. Some African women, I'm not saying all, they will tell you, endure it. Marriage, they will tell you, endure. Marriage is not easy. You just have to endure.
Let me tell you what they say in my country. They will say, look at all these girls looking for husband.
Imagine.
Shine your eye. What do you mean? He's a good man, he's bought you a car. What is wrong with you? Look at these, your young children. Stay and marry this man. Meanwhile, the whole idea, you know, I mean, I remember a friend of mine, when she was determined she was leaving her husband, a few of the people around her who knew the husband, they knew he was a twat. However, they said, look, there are loads of girls, if he leaves you, he may go and be nice to the other woman out there. So why don't you just try and you know, it's not even endure. They were saying, why don't you just try and, you know, balance it somehow and try and change him, you know? And I was sitting there thinking, what are they talking about? What are they talking about? Because when you marry, you have dreams, you have ideas. You saw this man and he was lovely to you, at you. You looked at him like me and Idris. Idris Elba, me and him are gonna marry. And I see Idris as this beautiful man. His skin is so nice and black. He's tall. He is so beautiful. And I have dreams, and we talk, and you know, so we met and we fell in love. In my mind, we were madly in love.
Yeah.
And then he started doing bad things, and he started shouting at me, and he started embarrassing me in public. And you know, there's so many things I was doing. However, if he put washing in the machine, he would tell people, yeah, you know, I'm with this one, and you know, I put the washing in the machine before we got here. Hello? So what? Are you not going to contribute to anything that's happening, because we both work and we both are doing things together? Why are you doing this? And you see, because African women are taught to be helpful and look after the man, and you know, when he starts talking and denigrating you, you are on a losing battle here, because you really should have put that washing in the machine. You should cook his breakfast, make his lunch, make his dinner. You should rub his ears if it's itching. You should do everything. Excuse me, what would he be doing for you? That he's helped you because you've had a child?
Yes.
Or the fact that he even married you amongst the sea of women, he chose you. You should be, I don't know, submissive and grateful. And
I think that notion is a bit misconstrued. You know, number one, I feel that people should never be in a relationship or be with somebody and want to change them. You know, if you're with somebody, it should be that you are adding value. You're both adding value to each other, as opposed to being in a relationship because you want to change the person. I think if anybody that is in a relationship and wanting to change somebody, it's a losing battle. It's a losing battle. And secondly, marriage or any relationship should be based on love and respect.
Yeah. I was just pouting my lipstick out. Yeah, please carry on.
Love and respect.
Yeah.
And it should be a mutual thing.
Mutual.
It should be a mutual thing. So if you've got a husband, you know, I'm quite blessed. My husband does so many things. You know, he's a Caribbean man. He does so many things, and I actually prayed for the type of man that I wanted. This is the thing, you know.
And
when
God
we talk
gave
about,
him to you.
sorry.
God gave you the man that you
God
prayed
gave
for.
me the man that I prayed for in terms of the things that I asked for. You know, I think sometimes as well with women, we tend to look for maybe some financial things. You know, we want a man with a car, and I know I'm going off.
No, you're not.
Off topic at the minute.
This is encompassing, therefore, all of these things are
so I think,
in a situation that we're all in.
I think when, especially for women that may be single or women that may have been through a relationship that was abusive and they now want a new relationship, a loving relationship, we have to begin to start looking at character, characteristics, the qualities of a person, as opposed to, you know, whether he's, you know, he drives a certain car or he has, you know, a 5-bedroom house. I mean, all of those things are wonderful and great, yeah, of course. But when we look at somebody's character, that speaks more volumes.
You say that though, but in domestic violence situations, the few that I've met, you see, what actually happens is when you met him, he was not like that. That's what they all say. 5 years, it was bliss. It was beautiful. He was nice, respectful. We had a great time. I would put nail polish on his feet. He would do this for me, etc., etc., etc. And then slowly, his full character came out. I think, and for that, I think that we women give men, we empower them. And then the worm turns. This is a pun.
Yeah.
No pun intended, but you see what I mean?
Yeah, but I think, you know, if you're with the right person,
the worm will not turn.
You know, I can't even say that. It's about knowing what you want, and knowing what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate. So if you meet somebody and you see certain characteristics, so I understand what you're saying in terms of, you know, 5 and 6 years down the line, then things change. But then we all have a choice, isn't it, to stay or to leave. And so, you know, this is a decision that, you know, people will have to make of their own backs. But in terms of, you know, identifying signs, there are definitely signs that, you know, women can pick up on. In the early stages, that will tell you, you know, what type of characteristic that person has or the qualities of that person. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about somebody who is going to be abusive towards you, somebody that's going to be controlling, somebody that's going to be manipulative? I think that you can see those signs early on. I think you can see some of those signs early on. And I think for a lot of women, we tend to ignore them because we have the rose-colored glasses on where we're so much in love that sometimes we'll see one thing and we will let it go. Okay? So there's something in us that will nudge us and tell us something ain't right, but we will let it pass because we don't follow our intuition. Yeah? And these things will be happening earlier on in a relationship. But because, as I said before, some women will be so attached, so in love, we'll let it lie. We'll think, oh, he will change. Huh? So this is that notion of thinking that you can change the person that you're with. But it's for individuals to understand and identify. I'll tell you a funny one.
Okay.
A funny story. And it's in my book where I talk about there was a guy that I met. I was dating for just a couple of weeks and we were driving. He came to pick me up and we were going to his neck of the woods to have some drinks and so forth. And I remember when I got into the car, I remember he came in his friend's yellow Lamborghini that day.
You have
a yellow Lamborghini, right? So he was definitely on a mission to showboat and show, you know.
You've lived, man.
And so I remember we were driving and I remember saying to him, you know, I almost nearly never came today because of childcare arrangements.
Okay.
And instantly he became angry and said, what are you talking about? No way, that could never happen. I planned for us to go today, so it was gonna... straight away, alarm bells started ringing in my head. Alarm bells started ringing in my head. If I tell you, do you know Elephant and Castle?
Yeah.
I got out of his car because I just kept quiet. I just kept quiet. Mm-hmm. So as we were driving and we came to a halt at the traffic lights, I just got out of the car and I slammed the door and I did not look back.
Whoa.
I did not look back. So for me, something had arisen inside of me that jolted me, that made me realize, yeah. And so for some women, sometimes we will ignore some of these, this type of behavior. Mm-hmm. Somebody shouting, being disrespectful, putting that fear in you. Okay, some women will ignore that, and before you know it, you're in so deep. You don't know what to do. You find it hard to come out. You find it hard to talk about it. And so that's the reason why I do the work that I do, where I help women to heal their heart after domestic violence, and specifically professional women. Mm-hmm. Statistics show that it's actually 67% of women from a higher social demographic mm-hmm. than women from a lower social demographic mm-hmm. that experience it. So there's this myth, because we think that we always see, like, through the media and so forth, single mothers, women that live in council flats, women that are low incomes, mm-hmm. that are more likely to experience domestic violence. Mm-hmm. But in fact, it's actually professional women that are more likely to experience psychological and emotional abuse. And you can imagine these women, how they feel. They've got things like their reputation to think mm-hmm. about. Mm-hmm. And how does this damage, what are the effects of this with these women? Low self-esteem, that idea that they're not worthy. They don't really think much of themselves, and their confidence, they end up losing their confidence. So they tend to pour all of their energy into their work to mask the pain and what they've experienced, or what they're experiencing in their relationship. There's this film, I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, I think it's called Big Little Liar. Nicole Kidman is in it, Reese Witherspoon is in it. That's an interesting movie to have a look at.
Well, ladies, you can watch Big Little Liar, and it kind of it resonates with some of what we're talking about now. One of the things also that I meant to ask you was, coming back to the experience of Elephant and Castle and getting out of the car, is that because you had already had an experience and therefore you knew that this is not going to go, this is not going to end well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I wasn't going to wait. I wasn't prepared. No, I wasn't prepared.
So basically, you've had that experience, you knew the signs, and that's what made you move away from that scenario. However, there are people who are in the experience who do not know whether, because sometimes it's after you've come out of it, several little things and blah blah, he doesn't come home, he's doing all these because the controlling and those subtle maneuvers, or you do not really realize that you are actually getting into a cycle of being manipulated. It's an abuse, really. So it's after they've gone, after you've left him because of some other issue which was too mega for you, blah blah blah, you leave him, and then you look back on it and you realize that, oh my God, but by then you may have done 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It's horrible, isn't it? Because, I'll tell you this, and I'm saying this on air, and it's not very good, but for me, if I'm going to die, you see, I go to funerals, and when I go to funerals and I see young people dead, or a mother, she's died and left her children, and I think, if I'm not allowed to give my 100% love to my loved ones, and I die because a man is controlling and determining how much love I should give to my children, I will not rest. So I might as well just leave the marriage and also some people bury their wives with the husbands. And if you're in a bad marriage and then you are then put together in a box, does your soul get any peace? Is this going to be eternity? You know, things like that make you think, no, I can't do this.
Mm.
I want to, if I have to be in a box with someone, it has to be pure love, nothing more. Because I don't want people to determine what my love was. I want to say, you know, do you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is that makes it easy to be comfortable in a divorce, to be comfortable, to be away from that person. Because this is not life. This is, why can you not? Look, I'd rather be hungry and, you know, we will eat bread if we're going to be happily eating bread.
That's right, yes, absolutely.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
There are a lot of women, listeners out there, and I know someone out there who is in the situation at the moment and she's still in 6s and 7s in a total quandary as to what to do. Listen carefully. Nobody can tell you to leave your marriage. No one should tell you to leave your marriage. But you really have to start making that decision right now. There is no point in crying every day and then going to church with him and looking like you're happy. It just doesn't work. It does not work.
Yeah.
So,
and for me, I believe everybody deserves a happy and healthy, safe relationship.
Yeah.
That's my belief.
mm-hmm.
And if you're not getting that, you know, I think sometimes individuals stay because they don't feel that they can do better, or they feel that they've been, you know, or maybe their partner has manipulated them in such a way to make them feel that they're not, there's nobody better out there than me.
Mm-hmm.
And so women tend to believe this. And so for me, part of the work that I do is about helping women to alleviate those self-defeating thoughts, you know, the thoughts that they once heard from others,
Mm-hmm.
and it's now become a self-fulfilling prophecy for them, where they actually believe that they are no good, they're not enough, nobody is going to be as good for them as that partner. And so women will lose their confidence through that. And part of the work that I do is to help women to release some of that, release the self-defeating thoughts. And there's a term that I use called frozen emotions, whereby women that have been in an abusive relationship are still walking around with all of that hurt and all of that pain. And if we think about professional women that are out there, you know, they're in the workplace and their relationships with co-workers are not so great, and you know, it's all that toxic energy that they're carrying around because they haven't been able to release and let go of that past hurt that they've had. And in a way, you know, it's like they're constipated. You know, I use the term, yes, because how are you releasing it? You know, when we think of
it's stuck
inside of them, and you know, some women don't know how to release it, how to let it go. And this is part of the work that I do on my Heal Your Heart program, where my 6 steps on healing your heart, where I cover various things, and there's things that I plucked out from my book that I teach within that to help women to release and to let go, so that they can have the life that they want, so that they can be confident in themselves again, so that they can connect with their intuition. I like to call it the feminine energy, you know, so that they can start walking in their power again. Because once your thoughts and your emotions are adjusted, you can start to create what you want in your life. And sometimes women are in a place where they think, oh, nothing good is going on in my life, I can never find a good man. Yeah, if you're always telling yourself you can never find a good man, you will never find a good man. So it's about adjusting your thinking, yeah, so that your emotions are in alignment with that, then you can start to create what you want in your life. You can have that love of your life, you know, that relationship that you want. You know, you can have that emotional freedom that you have always wanted. If I can do it, you can do it. And so that's what I always say. The transformation that I've had is the transformation that I want to give to other women, because I know what it's like to be there. I know what it's like to be there, and I know what it's like to be on the other side of that. And I tell you what, I look back on it, but I don't stay in it. And so for women, that if any of this has resonated with anybody out there, they you know, they can definitely contact me. And
so what is your contact?
My contact is Victoria at Spectacular Woman. In fact, for any listeners that are out there today, I'm going to do something special for you.
Okay.
So it's for the first 6 people that email me, that reach out to me, that may have resonated with anything that I have said today. The first 6 people that contact me, email me, Victoria at Spectacular Woman, or you can send me a message on Facebook. I'm going to give you a free discovery session, free discovery and clarity session that's going to help you to gain some clarity over your life, to kind of look at areas that you can start to make changes in. And so that's only for the first 6. And you have to do it today. I know it's late, so if anybody's up and they're listening, that's what I'm going to be offering today.
Okay, it's Victoria at Spectacular Woman. Spectacular Woman is one word.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes.
No .com, nothing. It's just Victoria
at spectacularwoman.com. Sorry,
okay.
my dear. Yes.
Okay. So it's Victoria at Spectacular Woman. Contact her today.
Yes.
Find out what she can do for you. The first 6 will get it free.
Yes.
Because she does this, she mentors women, she talks to them, she goes out into the world and she talks to people about how to release that pain, that thing, that negativity, or whatever it is that you have within you. Take it out, because there's a lot of life to live.
Absolutely.
If you don't, you will miss a lot of things. Some of us have gone through it, and yet we're on the other end. Now I can sit there with my sweetie, put my feet in the sand, and just kick it. And I'm thinking I'm having a good time. Or little things which before it seemed so crazy to do.
Yeah.
We do them now. We do them because you must have that chance. We are all not going to get out of this world alive. Therefore, whilst you have life, you have to live it, and live it well. And if you have children, women, most of us have children. All of us at this studio have women, and we have children. Now, what is the point of having children and being miserable? There is no point. So we're almost coming up to the end of the show today, although it's a whole month, and so we'll be here next week. I've got more questions. I've only asked 5. I've only asked 5 and the hour is up. I'm going to play some music. We will come back, wrap up, and don't forget, it's Victoria at Spectacular Women. And ladies, for this whole month, up to the 28th, don't forget to put your purple lippy on. As you can see, if you're on Facebook, I've got mine on. I just love my purple lipstick. I can show you where I bought mine. I bought mine from MAC. It's called Retro Matte. I've forgotten what the other. It's got Revolution or something. But yes, I mean, this is my revolution. Got it on. I'm doing it. I'm rocking it. Hey. So people, Victoria is here. She'll be here next week. We're going to talk more about strengthening yourself, about coming out on the other side. We're going to, what's our slogan again? Our slogan?
Breaking the silence.
Breaking the silence.
Breaking the silence.
We're not saying go and tell the whole world what your problem is, because believe me, half the people don't care about what you're going through, and the other half will just laugh at you. But if you take time and you look at yourself, stand in front of a mirror, look at yourself. Ask yourself, is this the life I want to live? Trust me. Then look out, cast your net. You will find that there is always somebody out there who will listen to you, who will help you if you need to move house, if you need to, whatever it is that you want to do. Everybody needs somebody. There's a song about that, but I can't remember it. But I'm going to play some music for you, and then we'll come back and then we'll talk some more and look at me trying to struggle to the music. What?